What is up, ladies and gents? It is your friendly neighborhood BJJ podcaster, RAF ESPARZA, coming to you with another great installment of The Bullpen, a joint venture between the good friends over at Inside BJJ and the Grappling Hour. How are you guys doing here? I was able to adjust that setting. Could you tell? Huh? Pretty good. It's a multi-tiered producer who can produce, host, make up words on the spot. I mean, that wasn't that great. But I can tell you this. I'm excited you guys are here. I am back from Vegas. It has been a long effing week, y'all. It goes like this. Monday, we get ready. Tuesday, we do this show as a pre-show. Wednesday, I'm done traveling all the way there. I'm settled, getting ready. We do the show. I'm working the pre-show. I'm working during the show, working after the show. Thursday, you go hang out with some of your boys over at the New Hope Kings. They beat me up. It's not great. But then I drive home and I get ready to do the show so that I can see my friend, Tim Freeman. Tim, how are you doing, good sir?
I'm doing great, Raf. Look, you're the hardest working man in BJJ, putting the miles on the car and getting the miles on the mat. My hat's off to you, my friend. It's great to be here. What a banger of a week we had in season 3. A lot of great developments happening. I'm stoked to be here, man.
Yeah, I would prefer not thinking about how many miles are on my car, mostly because when I start thinking about that, the doubt of doing this in a smart way creeps in. Because people were like, oh, well, you just fly in? And I go, well, one, that would require you to get your real ID. And that's a long time in a California driver's license, DMV. Two, I mean, I could get away with it for a little bit. But the real question is, how do I do all the equipment? Because we have equipment that I like to bring back and forth. And I give some on loan to our friends over at the PGF. So, you know, it's a little bit of mixture of all these things. So it's a lot that we do here. But Tim, there's been a lot of stuff coming up and a lot of things that we're talking about. But for you, what was it like to experience the PGF from the home viewing audience? Like, what did you enjoy from this week's PGF experience, sir?
Man, you know, there's a few things that have developed over the course of the season that I did not call in the beginning. And it's specifically around free agency and how the movement of new players in and some players out has really impacted the league. And then to see what happened on week 3, essentially the strong kind of got stronger and the weaker team or the weakest team right now is kind of hurting, man. And it's hard to get people in to a weak team once you pass season or week 3. So I think that's the most interesting thing that's happening. The Twisters are looking good. The Dolomer is still like tearing everybody up. And the New Hope Kings are right there. And Jet Thompson has resurrected from the nap he was in for a bit there and has completely made a huge statement. So great stuff this week, man.
With that in mind, I was watching the multiple submissions that were happening. I was watching the action up front, behind the scenes, and I can tell you this. We were right to tell you last week. We were right to tell you on Tuesday. The Alabama Twisters were ready to make an impression. However, some people had feelings about that, Tim. Some people were a little concerned that they had too powerful of a team. So I just want to get your impressions, because it felt like to some people that maybe it wasn't fair. So do you have a response to that? Because it can be telling on whether really this is a fair thing or a not fair thing. But like, from your perspective, where do you fall on the Twisters gaining that big of a roster, that powerful, that quickly during season 8, week 3?
You know, it doesn't surprise me. These country boys from the South, one thing I've learned is they got a sweet Southern drawl but they are cunning and conniving, and they're very clever. And it doesn't surprise me that the Alabama Twisters just kind of show up at the last minute and they got their tornado logo and they're like, hey, we're in the league, everybody. And it's like, oh, okay, yeah, you guys, okay, whatever. And then, at the end of week 2, they make 2 huge announcements. They bring in Ardilla and I believe, was it Rayfield? I think it was Ardilla and Rayfield, which it makes the team stacked, right? It's not a surprise. They're in second place now with 57 points on the board. I don't feel any kind of way about it. And the reason I don't is the PGF has flourished under this style of we're going to make decisions on the fly and we're going to make adjustments and we're going to do what's right for the PGF and for the athletes. And sometimes you might come out on the short end of that. You might feel some kind of way about it, and sometimes you won't. Whatever. We saw it at the auction. Brandon let that weird little trade, guys taking less money go through, and then he changed his mind. The challenge now, and we called it, is they put it on paper. They said, this is the policy. This is how free agency works. This is how injuries work. So if I'm the Alabama Twisters, I go, hey, I don't see we're doing anything wrong according to this paper. Bring them in. Right? I mean, this is what's happening. And so, look, it doesn't surprise me. My hat's off to him. This is the way the game is played. I actually think it's a great turning point for the PGF because we're finally starting to see coaches have a major, major impact on what's going on in the league and what's going on with their team. So it's cool stuff, man. If you're not cheating, you're not trying. So my hat's off to those guys. Get after it.
So I'm glad you bring that up because I asked this to Dom Mejia after a very impactful day. That dude put up about 12 or 13 points in his first day there. And when that happened, I said, well, how do you feel about this? And he's just like, well, takes a beat, thinks about it, and then says, if you were a team, wouldn't you do this too? And I thought, smooth recovery here, young man. That doesn't get through the ethics of, is it right? Because we're in a space where you think it feels okay because we don't have any precedent for it. But is this something we have to revisit in the near future? Because people thought, how do you get Sergio and Dom on the same team? And to know how that can go in such a big way. So I won't name names, but I had people coming up and expressing certain feelings to me. And I think the wildest thing that happens when they do that is, I think they forget 2 things. 1, I have no power. 2, I will talk about it on the show. So I think it's a little bit of a mix of me just looking at them going, I think you may have a point, but how do you fix it? And I don't think anybody has a resolute way of fixing it yet. And that's kind of where we get into this stumbled, this is kind of a hodgepodge. What do we do here? But I think it's something maybe we should think about. We're going to put it into a lockbox. Okay. We're going to revisit this a little bit later. Now, the lockbox is going to be where we're going to revisit the thing that we do for our PGF IR reserves. So I had to say it in a Southern drawl so that our Southern friends could understand that as well. But let's come back to that in a little bit. But for the rest of you guys, we have other business matters to go to. Last week, we debuted a new segment. We're now going to call this Replay. On our replay, we're going to go over some highlights from last week. And I thought I had all the fun last week. So this week, I'm going to give Tim, my amazing partner here, the ability to go through some highlight footage from season 8, week 3. Tim, I would love for you first to talk us through one of the more entertaining matches. You said you had eyes on the amazing work from Jet Thompson this week. So we actually pulled a match for you to commentate of his with some highlights in themselves. So we're going to go ahead and move to that right.
Let's go.
Now. All right. So for this, Tim, what were your thoughts? Well, actually, let's not do that one on this yet. We're getting ahead of ourselves. We're going to go straight to choosing that match with Jet Thompson I'm sorry. Jet Thompson and Officer Grimy. That'll be the one that we begin with here.
Yes, sir. The lovely Stephen Eakin,
who, by the way, wrote in here and said, "Watch out, Tom." So I
Yeah, I
couldn't
think he
tell
meant
if that was
Tim.
at you or
Oh,
Tom
sure
from
it was.
MySpace.
Again, it's the you got to watch out for the Southern boys. That's what got him. Oh, I'm going to get up on my keyboard. He felt that keyboard warrior spirit. It raised up in him. All right, so here we go. Jet Thompson, just he looks bigger and he carries himself a little more manly, for lack of a better word. Now he immediately sits down, right? And if you watch, he does a real nice job of just taking the space away. Immediately he's on Officer Grimy and he cuts an angle and he just keeps taking space away. He'd like to get that shotgun armbar. Thinks about the legs and he's like, nah, I'll settle for the back. And he stuffs the escape attempt right there. That is the pivotal part of the match when Jet stuffs him like a turducken. It's the beginning of the end here. And I got to say, Officer Grimy did a really nice job of trying to stay in it. It wasn't like he was doing nothing, right? He was rolling and spinning, but once Jet gets on your back, it's going to be a real long day. And Officer Grimy manages to shake him a little bit at the end, but Jet still has the strangle in. It looks like it's a head and arm variation there, and Grimy's got no choice, man. Jet was just he was on fire. He ran Paul Ardilla to a DQ, right? Just by controlling the position. And then he also in his first match against Spencer Ortiz, same thing happened. So he made a huge statement last night, man. And you knew this was going to happen. Egg is smiling ear to ear now. He's been waiting for Jet Thompson to go off.
Yeah, the best part of this is Egg being like, I predicted Jet Thompson would be good. Oh, did you? Wow, what a bold proclamation there, sir. Tim, we're going to move now to our second package. This one is going to be the top 5 submissions of the week. Sir, all right. The floor is yours.
Let's go. We got Derek Rayfield, and again, Officer Grimy. Tough night for him. Rayfield's got some long, flexible legs, and he sets up a beautiful dead orchard here. And there's really nowhere you could go. Your arms are stuffed. You're stuck. Rayfield manages to sweep him off balance. You see Grimy tried to step over the head in like a last-ditch Hail Mary effort, but in the end, he's got a tap. And Rayfield's made a big impact. I said he went to the Twisters, but I believe he went to Dahlinger, which is, speaks volumes to how well they're doing. They've been managed to stay at the top for the whole time, Alma. Nice job, Derek Rayfield. We got CJ Murdoch and Landon Elmore. I think CJ Murdoch is trying to be like Joe Dirt. I think he's trying to be CJ Dirt. I think that's his game here. And Elmore, man, once he gets moving, he feigns to the pass and he cuts back to the legs. And Murdoch's left with no choice but to try to run out. And Elmore catches him on the run. And every time Elmore gets a submission, he does this bowing thing and he shakes the hand. He checks on him are you okay, man? Oh, I'm just a kid. Get out of here, man. We don't buy it at all. We don't believe any of it. You're a menace. Elmore's looking fantastic. We got Derek Rayfield here, and I believe Juan Molina the fifth. And Rayfield, he hit a really quick ankle lock and then hits the backflip. I've always wanted to be that guy, but I would be the guy that face planted it. And now we got Dominic Lobo and Rafa Ferreira. And this kid's hair, he is our Clay Guida. That's what I figured out. We should call him Rafa Guida. And he's all over Dominic Lobo. Lobo does a nice backdoor escape here and actually jumps on the legs, and they get into a little bit of a shootout, and Hoffa ends up on the top with a super bite on the heel, and Lobo's left no choice but to tap. And I'm digging Hoffa. He's feeling it. And finally we got Anthony I believe this is No, this is not Go Johnny. Oh, this is the replay of the same. Nice work here, though, man, from Dominic Lobo and Rafa Ferreira. Because to be honest, Lobo had a really nice, clean escape and almost came up on a sub of his own. These kids, though, man, you're never safe with them. Never safe. And here we got Anthony Gojani and Matt Mash. And Gojani does a real nice job of sliding to the back from his closed guard, body triangle in. And it used to be considered rude. When I started training, if you choked like right over a dude's mouth, that was maybe grounds for throwing some blows. But now that's totally acceptable. Anything below the nose is where it goes. And Gojani puts a mask on Matt Mash. And Mash did his best. Look, there's no wall to go prop him up against. He's not in an octagon. So he's got to carry him. And at a certain point, you could tell he just goes, you know what? I'm done with this. I'm going to go eat a PB&J and watch Sports Center. Like, this is too much. And he taps, and Gojani's got to be feeling good. Look, Gojani's got great jiu-jitsu. He hasn't put up gigantic numbers, but it's got to feel good to get a nice win like that. It's got to be a confidence builder. And where's he at in the scoring board, man? I think he's
just right out of it.
He's number 8. Yeah, he's at 8, so he's right in the hunt, man. Really nice job with the subs at the PGF in week 3. And these are just, what were deemed the top 5. There's a whole slew of other subs that took place. So,
well, thank you for that,
nice
Tim.
Work,
listen, we had some incredible moments there. Those being counted as the top 5, they have some meaning to it. Gojani getting the submission and not getting really a ton of points up until then. Now on the brink of making the playoffs, possibly.
Yeah.
So that's really good. It also shows you how very quickly things can change. So it is a good reminder of that. And then even looking over at Dom Lobo, who's not been submitted in competition, goes to show you how good he is. Then you look over at just the implications of what this is. What I would tell you is this, everybody. Going into week 4, I think now we have to be looking at some playoff scenarios, not just this whole team dynamic. In week 4, you're going to see people come alive who are going to be your main players for the playoffs. So keep eyes on that. Tim, did you have any other observations before we had to get you on out of here? I know we have to get you out sooner than later, but anything else strike out to you during your watching of week 3 action?
Yeah, and thank you, man. I'm just in for a quickie today, but the leaderboard right now is super, super tight. Papadels is 27, Landon Elmore's at 26, Olivo's at 25, Thompson's jumped into the 6th spot. Everybody's pretty close. And at this point, you have to start thinking, where do I want to land on this board? Like, do I need to push to be at the top? Because, man, it's so close that you could be number 3 and then next week be number 11. So I would say that week 4, I don't think the tension breaks. I think that, the Thunders are struggling this season a little bit. It might be difficult for them to get back into the team hunt. There's certainly guys on that team, though, that want to show out. They want to do their best. They want to be invited back, right? They want to do this professionally. So of course they're going to take that opportunity. But the way it's shaken out, like, it's going to be a battle in week 4. You got 3 teams fighting for first place. They're all super close to each other. And these top 8 guys here, it's a traffic jam right now. There's 4 dudes tied for 8th place. That's insane. So This is really exciting. To be honest, this has been my favorite season of the PGF. I really like season 6, but season 8's been a lot of fun to follow, man.
I would agree, man. And I think there's a long way to go in still some of the action that we have to see here. But Tim, I do believe you have some other obligations. I will go ahead and hold court here, but tell the people where they can find you, good sir.
You can find me at Inside BJJ on all your favorite social media. If you're out in Nashville, come see me at 10th Planet Nashville. And if you're out in Stockton, go see my boys at 10th Planet Stockton. And I want to just say this real quick. huge shout out to my son, Noah. He's graduated from college this weekend. So I got one through the gate. Hey, let's go. Now I got one more. I gotta force through. And then I could just be like, I'm retired from being a dad. Whatever you do now, that's on you, Mean Gene.
Tim, like, what do you
just jam them through the meat machine, dude? Like, get your ass to school.
I have to tell you this. The saddest part of it is, at a certain point, especially when they're this close, Tim, there's not much more you need to do. Like, they're at the finish line. At this point, I want to say by my sophomore year, my dad's like, all right, cruise control, they're good. So that's all. Tim, go enjoy the rest of your day, sir. I hope you have a good one. Thank you for joining in, and
Thanks,
we will see you back on Tuesday for our official Week 4 pre-show.
Can't wait. Thanks, Raph. Great job this week, man. You're killing it out at the PGF, man. Super appreciate you holding it down.
Likewise. Thank you very much for that, sir. All right. Tim Freeman is heading out right now, and now taking over the main screen is going to be my lovely face. So get ready for this, you guys. Hello. All right. It's me for the rest of the show, but I will take any of your questions, your comments, your concerns. Let's put back on our shot clock here, because what's happening for us is we have other things to talk about. We'll talk about this one. This is an unfortunate story, but it looks like Caltera had his academy busted open by a driver. Now, this is wild to me, because in the mix of all the different things that we see on the internet, we're always looking at people as competitors, and sometimes you're rooting for or against other people's gyms. This is one that I feel like we all kind of come together on. The article that comes out of Cron 4, which, by the way, there's a Cron 4, whatever it is, but updated out that way from the San Diego. The Cron 4 reports that, yes, it does look like there were some issues that happening. The studio located on Park Avenue and Sunsol Street did not report any injuries. That's good. But that a vehicle crashed in the Caltera Academy at 4:03 p.m. on Sunday. So I think they probably figured everybody was done with open mat, and no better time like the present to go ahead and just run into some academies, because for funsies, that's what you should do. And I'm telling you, I feel like this is one of those moments when you see this happening, your heart sinks for that academy, because the headline here seems to indicate this is not a small amount of damage. They are saying it is approximately $50,000 worth of damage to the academy was done. So it did say that the hit and run driver remains at large. I thought I read somewhere that they had collected some information regarding the license plate and that they are currently looking after the person. And the San Jose Police Department said that the driver was involved in a separate collision with another vehicle prior to that altercation. So, listen, we send our best to the good folks over at Caltera. It's just wild in very busy weeks when we're looking to see what the matchups are that we see an extended member of the jiu-jitsu community having a moment like that. So it was really, really unfortunate. But it does say a truck ran a stop sign before crashing into the studio. But here's the unsurprising part. Even after dealing with the crash less than 24 hours ago at time of press writing, the Caltera Academy was open for training on Monday. So even though there is a giant hole in the academy, that is how about business they are. They go, sorry guys, I think you thought you were getting this day off, but we got drills to do. So y'all better be back here ASAP. So our best to Caltera Academy, all of those folks. Just a terrible thing to read. And yeah, just when they said $50,000 though, my heart kind of sank, because then you think about it logically and you go, right, if somebody runs into your academy, that can really go up quickly. But just terrible to read. So thank you very much for that information, jiu-jitsu community. I almost didn't see that one pop up. Speaking of people with some thoughts recently, we have seen Roger Gracie has been making the rounds. Now, Roger Gracie, our GOAT, one of the best of all time, a person who also made his way into the MMA world. He posed an interesting sort of thought, and I'm not sure where you guys fall on this one, but I don't think a lot of us are far off. Harder Gracie was basically saying in an interview recently that no-gi is a young man's game. And I'm not going to lie, I mean, he's not off base here. But the article goes on to quote him as saying, gi is a lot more technical. No-gi is a young man's game. It's a faster game and you use more energy, more power. If you're young and strong and fast, it adds a lot to your game naturally. How are you supposed to disagree with this? This GOAT is not that far off in this sort of statement. He goes on to state, it's no-gi. It's so much harder to control someone because you don't have a grip. The person is always loose in front of you, and so his explosion and his power will get him away from a lot of situations. I mean, a lot of this have this anecdotally. When you get a new student in, anytime you get a wrestler, they're always going to have explosive energy. Some people call it spaz. Some people call it kind of just this frantic sort of movement. But for that particular case, I think the GOAT makes an interesting case, but I don't want to concede this fully for our gi people. I do believe gi is the more technical version of this, but we do say that the one that's really going to get us more notoriety and the one that everybody goes all in on making their events and their super fights for is clearly no gi. Having said that, I would love to see maybe somebody put some more respect on the gi's name. Because my man Stephen Aiken says, I thought that was always understood. I think it's what we've come to say it as, a lot of us in these circles. But the difference is none of us are the GOAT saying it. Like me saying it on this show, sure, okay. When the dude who is the best is telling you this, I feel it's either hit a critical mass point where he agrees with it, or he's pointing it out from his perspective of, I've had success in both. What he does say, though, with the gi, that doesn't happen because you hold the gi so he doesn't have the mobility. He cannot explode out of situations. He cannot just pull himself out. That grip will hold him where he is. Sure. So he's referencing the fact that sometimes people can run, you can slow them down, you can pin that gravity with that gi top. There's a lot of versatility to it. So I'm intrigued to see if we can put that challenge out here to people. But there's another thing that's been happening. And this has been really intriguing to me in terms of, I want to say it's BJJ Docs that put up like 3 articles in a row that was like, Marcelo Garcia says strength training is bad. This person said strength training bad. And I just remembered sending this to my SNC guy being like, all my jiu-jitsu heroes are trying to tell me I shouldn't do this. So maybe I shouldn't be doing SNC right now. But Roger Gracie said in a recent article as well that he had to change his whole weightlifting approach because it had adverse effects on his jiu-jitsu. And I feel like it's quick to weigh in here, but before any of you weigh in on this, I would like to say this. Can we see those workouts? Because one of the benefits I have from my guy, and maybe I'm spoiled, is I say I do want to increase my strength training, but I want it to be practical to my jiu-jitsu. So fortunately, I've lucked out. I see him as the man, and he gives me stuff that we try to just strengthen the overall like body so that I can do stuff forever and be on the mats forever, which is a stated goal of mine. So just thought I would put that out there for you guys. Let's talk about this. The next segment we move to is charity. Okay. Now this is interesting to me because you've got Mika Galvo, who recently said, I would be interested in taking on Nicholas Miragali for charity, which I think a lot of us would be into. I just always wonder why we have to go the charity route. Because for me, why can't we just have this as is? Like, I don't know that we need to make this out to a charity, but okay, here's the kind of context behind it. So nothing personal, just business. If you don't fight for money, and neither do I, okay, so let's give the public what they want to see. We do this fight in Brazil in a stadium. Okay. With the spirit. What's the value of the fight? For an NGO, those who really need it. The invitation has been made. So I think that this is interesting in that, yeah, Miragali recently had put up posts saying he has very little interest in facing Galvão. That might be from it. He's also not been active since his shoulder surgery. But, like, on paper, why can't we just make that match happen? Like, I get that we say it's not about money, but do you guys recognize that when you say it's not about money, it becomes harder to make those matches happen elsewhere? And, like, we're such a unique sport that you never see Tom Brady say, I'm going to meet you at week 16, and the winner of this has to donate to charity. Because they like their money, and nobody gives them any shit for enjoying the fruits of their labor. It's just a weird contextual thing that Miragali uses, probably to sideswipe any kind of want to get into a match. Perhaps he thinks he's on a level that's higher than Mika. Maybe he's afraid that if Mika takes him down, it's hard to maintain his price or his rate. I don't know what the issue is. I'm just speculating here. This is some random stuff I'm spitting because I'm just trying to find the reason why we have to do it for charity and not just for sport. And it shouldn't be bad if they make some money off of it. You know what? Here's the new rule. If you guys don't want the money, give it to me. I will take the money for you. We can make the Grappling Hour a nonprofit. We can do that. I think we can adjust them. I'll call my tax guy. But I guess what I'm saying to you is, why make it this difficult? He wants it. He doesn't really want it. Give them money to persuade them. And if there's no money, it just feels like the secondary resource for this is, well, how about for charity? So who knows? We wanted to remind everybody that, yes, as things start to develop, Craig Jones Invitational Dose is happening at the end of this month. It is that month now. So we're really into the throngs of the actual promotion for this. We're very excited about it. I hope you guys are too. Craig has been doing a video per day talking about specific athletes that will be on the card. And it's been a lot of comedy. And I have to say, for somebody who's notoriously not a hard worker, it's fun to see Craig have to do a video per person. Like, in his head, he's like, oh man, wouldn't it be funny if I did this one video per person? And then right now, not even at the halfway point, going like, how many more of these do I have to do? Can I just phone them in? Can AI regenerate me to do one per person? But I wanted to applaud the efforts by Craig and most likely Anthony, who's probably doing all the work, to do these videos and get them out one by one per day. I think it's brought some great attention to all the athletes. There's some lightheartedness and some fun. And there's a little bit of this, and I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but is there an appeal to less sort of production on these videos? Because granted, they're all being done by the phone, so that's not the issue. But like most events, when they go out of their way to say, all right, this is the most important match that's ever existed, they spend a lot of money getting people to actually produce that and come up with really, really fun and good things creatively, and then pay them to actually edit it. This does not seem like a ton of editing, and yet there's a charm to it. And I wonder, would other people have that good faith, or is it just for Craig? Because I think Craig has really earned that right in being funny and silly, and that has definitely gone a long way. But it begs the larger question, is that what you want? And would you accept it if Polaris just said, take away all the pomp and circumstance? What if it was just Matt going out there and saying like, hey, you guys like this dude? This dude's going to get deported by ICE, or he's going to fight at the next Polaris 29 this Saturday. Would you accept it, or do you like the standard go-to promotions? Because I'll tell you one thing. If you like the cheaper version, message heard, but something to consider as we continue and move our way throughout. One thing I do want to make sure as we start to round the bases here, guys, is that yes, we're going to do our segment where we did replay earlier with Tim. Normally we do a fight of the week, but this week we're going to change it to some matches. So I thought I would put it up to AI, and if you guys have any requests, I'll be happy to watch along a match or two with you. But before I switch to that board, what I would like to say is some of the stuff that I have picked is some highlight footage, but I wanted to actually start with some takedown highlights because I thought that was pretty cool. And we're seeing money bags happen for takedowns. So that's got me thinking, is this something that we are waiting to see more and more from our world in grappling? So let's go ahead and take this one off right now. We have already done that one with Tim, but we're going to change to the file where we're going to see some of these tosses and takedowns because, like I said, they're starting to get actual money for just the takedowns. It's well known that Zoe is a huge fan of judo and is looking to reward here. And of course, JJ Bowers working very, very quickly to get that takedown on Chris Olivo. Meanwhile, back over here, Anthony Molina Valdez and Christos Papadopoulos find their way on the ground. And I find that interesting. I don't know that I would necessarily call this a takedown here, but that's more of a pass of a guard. So we'll stay on that. But we're going to move now to this with Matt Mash and Mike John, who, by the way, respect to Mike John for coming back into the game because that dude was over on the sidelines and he had one more match that he could stay out on the injured reserve before we figure out what happens, which, by the way, is today, right? Like, isn't it supposed to be today? We're supposed to get an update on Mike John. Nonetheless, comes back out here after Brady Branscombe, scores some points for his team, picks up a major win for them, injures his back. Mike John thinking he's not going to be put in that day, but comes out with a banger with Matt Mash. An incredible match, but look how quickly Matt goes to business here. Matt was on an incredible day on Wednesday, but I want you to pay close attention to him moving the arm, getting the distance, going for a read, and I mean right here, just basically darting in on Mike John. So much to the point where then starts thinking about a leg, but gets right back up. We're going to look now to Chris Olivo and Spencer, and a beautiful throw here by Olivo that I'm pretty sure, yep, you see the money bag over there. And it's so funny because when they stop them, there's a moment where I'm not even sure that Chris knew that's what happened. They were just trying to figure out where the arm placement was. But one thing that has changed in week 2 is when you heard the money bag ka-ching, you could see the look on the athlete's face throughout that. So props to Chris Olivo for that one. And then this final one, again, Matt Mash, not content on just calling it an easy day, finds the back and then just literally muscles his way down with a very beginning to a head and arm choke, making sure he gets that as the final position there. So excellent work all the way around from those gentlemen. But just to let you know, a money bag isn't just given willy-nilly. Like, there is usually some thought put out to these. And it's kind of like, it's hard to describe it, but it's a feeling. So a lot of the guys are trying to figure out, like, how do I get a money bag? And some people even start bitching when someone else gets a money bag and they didn't. And I have to tell you, I think that's a very bad strategy. I think trying to bitch about somebody else's money bag doesn't take away any shine from you. And in actuality, it makes it so that maybe you don't get future money bags. Because keep in mind, it is a feeling. So if they have any hesitation, it could be because of the way you conduct yourself. So just keep that in mind when you're wondering why somebody else got a money bag and you didn't. And this extends to the people who have gotten money bags, because it shows you have the jiu-jitsu that's capable of it. And that if you want to see those things continue to go, you really just got to put out the best jiu-jitsu you've got and let the chips fall where they may. Having said that, there's only so many money bags that they do give out per season. So we're told. So try to have really high impactful stuff. And maybe, just maybe, you will be one of those people who takes home a money bag. All right, I'm going to pull a couple highlights here from some matches. The first is going to be the Anthony Gojani highlight, because John Chandler was having great matches all night. These were getting the people on their feet. And right here, you thought that Gojani was about to put away John Chandler. This was a make or break week for both of these young men because they really wanted to get out there and make a statement. For Gojani, it was about a respect. And for Chandler, it was really being able to put on the spectacular performances that he has. Even under duress here makes it exciting because you feel for him. You wonder, can he get out of this bad position? You see that clock eaten up that entire time, and there's not an ounce of quit in John Chandler here. Having said that, Gojani looking real sharp all the way through, and some of us thought in this particular moment that might be where Gojani was going to get him, and instead Chandler just kept finding a way to fight out all the way throughout. So props to Gojani for that one. We're going to move now to some other highlights. This is going to be another individual who got some respect this week, and this is going to be props to Juan Martinez. Juan really has not gotten a ton of respect for his game. I got the chance to roll with him this week, and I can tell you up close, this young man has a very good, complex game. And right here, getting a quick tap on Nick Saff. So watch. As Nick has this grip around his leg, Juan very aptly reads it when he says, all right, if he's going to attack my leg and I have this, I've got an outside shot on this heel hook. And when he falls back for it, it's like understanding somebody is going to attack you. If you can make the first move, you got a shot here. Now, watching it in slow motion, Juan pushes that down, keeps the separation for himself. But watch this. This is my favorite part here. As he pushes the leg down, a lot of the times you're going to need both knees to pinch in to create that pressure. Doesn't mean it always has to go that way. But traditionally, if you have some sort of fulcrum, you can create a breaking point. By pushing down on that leg, he gives himself some temporary relief from that as he's going to make his move to sit back on his right hip. And as he gets there, he's got it already by the time he's seated. So again, just watching right here, it all happens so fluidly and so smoothly that when he does execute this finish, you think, oh man, he might get bumped down. He might get swept. His leg is in danger here. He sees it as an opportunity, pushes down, gets the space, finds that outside heel, and then just, as we said with Matt Mash during our interview this week, he sends it. So big props to Juan. I'm hard-pressed to think of somebody who deserves more recognition. He's kind of quiet. He doesn't talk a bunch of trash. That's not really his style. But there's a method to his madness. I really like his game, and just getting to see him have a great moment was a really cool addition for the season thus far. So big ups to Juan for that moment. And I mean, if we're talking about all these different things, I feel like it might not be a bad moment to also give some props. Again, I'd love to watch this one more time because Tim got to take a stab at it. But this is the match, the highlights of the match between Officer Grimy and our good friend, Jet Thompson. So Officer Grimy gets the call after there is an injury where we weren't quite sure if he was going to come in. Jet Thompson, there was a lot working against him on this week. He was up against the wall, was only getting small points, like just from these disqualifications. But it's because he's been so dominant that he's gotten some of his opponents to DQs. He's just not finishing in that position. The wildest part to me about that is, though, he has an incredible back control. I know. I got to experience it. Not fun. But in the PGF, you got to get it done in order to get those points. And right here, right away, this guard goes to work. And look at this sweep that happens. From here, he's basically looking to underhook the leg, comes out the backside, and then basically says, magic, I have a back take here. So let's look at this again. Most people are going to be looking for the sweep so aggressively that they commit to just trying to rock them over. But the genius of what Jet is doing here is he recognizes I can move myself if I keep them in the same place. Easier said than done, because if you're just in this position, think about the logic that you need to be able to get somebody's back from here. And then just watch the correction and the adjustment that happens. So from here, instead of spiraling where you get into some funky kind of makeshift variation of a donkey guard or reverse anything, you're going to see him almost breakdance on his head to find the angle to keep the body lock and then roll straight into it. Let's look at it one more time just to appreciate the art of what Jet is doing here. So right up top, and again, let's take it from here. This guard pull, active guard, now collapses all into a closed guard. Now, Grimey's arm is trapped right there, and that is a strong grip. Grimey gets it back in, thinks he's maybe got a second or two here to play, playing into that guard, and Jet goes straight to work. Look at how long it takes for him to finish this sequence, though. Here. Most people are going to continue going that direction. Jet, when he turns, makes a beautiful read, holds that foot, and finds his angle to that back right there. And then immediately starts shooting for that choke. And this is kind of the better part of kind of the beginning of the end for Officer Grimey, because he's doing everything to make movement to try and get out of it, but Jet is just on him. And at this point, Jet couldn't be denied. This was the time that Jet really realized that there has been talk. Is he that guy? Is he the guy who deserves to be number one? Is he points per value being the number one pick? And watch how he responds. He says, Officer Grimey, I hope you don't care too much about your knees because stretch. Yikes. That was a moment audibly right here. I want to tell you this. This moment, let me just advance right here. The bend on the knee, he lifts it up right in time, but to me, that's enough where I don't walk for a day or two. A little sore after that one. Officer Grimey looks to see if the couch can maybe give him some help here. And then I love this because for a split second, Grimey could see the outside world. And this is Jet Thompson using the extension of the arms and climbing his way once again to the back. And again, I want to reemphasize something. As somebody who, when I rolled with Jet, I could see the skill that he has for his back take. This is a dude who has incredible back retention. You don't need me to tell you that. You've seen his matches. He's gotten DQs for people with that stellar back control. So while it might not be points for your fantasy team, unless you're playing on PGF World, just look at this. Watch. Most people lose it right here. He shifts on over to that kind of head and arm. Grimey looks for an escape. As Jet rolls, he still has this kind of makeshift thing that sometimes you do in rolls to kind of bullshit get a tap. But he doesn't stay there. He uses it to kind of hold him in place while he adjusts his body more over that back, exerts the control, gets his hips back up and over for a more traditional back control with that almost Rotolotine-like grip. It's a work of art, guys. Like, Grimey is not easy to submit either. Watching stuff like that, it should remind you that there is a rationale behind him being the number one pick. And there's a big question now, which is, are we seeing the momentum turn in Jet's favor? Sometimes it just takes one match to find your way back in. I'm going to argue right now, Jet might be feeling it. Do not count him out, because the one thing that happens when we're done with this whole season and the team element is done is if he makes it to the playoffs, it is a single elimination tournament of 8. If you don't get out of somebody's back control, you don't advance. You got to be able to submit him. And we really, really aren't seeing people do that. So you got to ask yourself, if you're out there writing off Jet Thompson, and maybe he takes somebody to overtime, are you confident that he still isn't a player for that playoff bracket? Food for thought. Thanks for playing along with that one, you guys. I mean, I feel like these are fun segments. I hope you guys like it. If you do, tell us in the chat. Tell us in the comment section. We've been having a blast doing these, and we thank our friends over at the PGF for allowing us to use this footage, because one of the reasons we don't do this segment elsewhere is, people are in their feels. They don't like you to use footage like this, but the good folks over at the PGF have been very kind about letting us do these footage reviews. So big thanks and appreciation for that. All right, friends. I think that's about it for this week. We have so much more to get to for next week, and I have some highlights and footage and some reels I've got to go ahead and make. But I will tell you this. Week 3 told you a lot. The beginning of next week, when we start hearing who is in and out, it could get dicey. And I pose this. Is everybody who's on a team currently who is on the injured reserve going to stay on the injured reserve? Or do they become new members of the team? It looks like Team Dolomer is feeling pretty good about their team. So the question is the injury for Brady going to be problematic for that team? Are they going to bring in somebody else? How does that work for them? And for Brady in particular, he stayed out one match that night. So by the rules, he has to stay out at least 2 more this coming Wednesday. So for Brady Brandstrom, that happened there. For Brady Hilton, where does he go? What happens with him with his team? Because you get the sense now, Sergio, Dom also getting 13 points. Or I think it's at least 12 with the 2 kills. I don't know. And now we're starting to look at playoff contention, and Dom could be right in that playoff contention. So there are a lot of questions. I think Monday is going to be a big question day. So that is why on Tuesday, when you come back to our pre-show that we record live here, hopefully we'll have some new breaking news for you guys. I don't know if we will know everything, but we will do our damnedest to discern whatever new information we have. In addition to that, we'll go down the match-by-match playlist of who, what, where, when, and why. And I have to give us some props. The matches that we told you were going to be bangers kind of turned out to be some banger matches. So we'll give you an update on how we did on those. We'll give you an update on our fantasy teams and much, much more. But I will tell you guys this right now. If you enjoy the show, it would mean a lot to me if wherever you're watching it, a like, a comment, a subscribe, it goes a long way for us here at the show. So it really does mean a lot. And if you want to support me, I would love it if you guys could go on over to patreon.com/grappling hour. If you go there, just give me some love, give me some support. Just for $5 a month, you can basically help support this show and show your boy Raph that you love it. You get 4 interviews per month. And if you give me just a few extra dollars more per month, you get some extra bonus content that's not available anywhere else. So it really does mean a lot to me. All right, friends. I think that's going to do it for us here at the Bullpen. My thanks to you. My thanks to Tim. And guys, we still have 2 more weeks of regular action of PGF. And then there's 1 more week of playoffs. So we're at about the halfway point now. So to the athletes, thank you for a great season so far. Job's not done. Job's not finished. Get out there. And we thank you very much. But in the meantime, ladies and gents, on behalf of all of us here at the Bullpen, thank you so much for watching. It's been a great day for grappling. We'll see you back on the mats.